balancing of equations in this case. So balancing, first thing, I told you about ions. Group 1 is +1, group 2 is +2, group 3 is +3. 5 जो है वो that's यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है. अच्छा, 5 is -3, 6 is -2, and 7 is -1. Whenever a compound is formed, it's always formed between a positive ion and a negative ion. Okay, that's you got a positive ion and you got a negative ion. Group 1 है तो +1 है, and if it's group 6, it's -2, right? And you do crisscross, which is 2 को इधर ले आओ, 1 को इधर ले आओ, so it's going to be Na2S. That's the formula. Al is +3, F is -1, crisscross, that's AlF3. Then I told you about polyatomic ions. I told you that you have to just remember their names and their formulas. You have to know what a hydroxide, carbonate, nitrate, phosphate, etc. all these ions are, and what is their formula and what is the charge on them. Okay, phosphate is PO4 -3. You have to remember all of this. Then और फिर उसके formulas बनाए थे. We did aluminium nitrate, that's ALS +3, group 3. Nitrate is NO3 -1, so it's going to be 2 crisscross. It's going to be Al would be 1. NO3 जो है, that's going to be thrice. So we did all these formulas. Then we did acids and bases. I told you that acid is something. क्या करता था acid? It produces H+1 ions. What does a base do? It accepts or gains H+1 ions. So acids were, what were their formulas? That acids produce H+1 ions. So they have H+1 ions. So I told you that you have to remember the formulas of these acids as well. Okay, every acid has an H+1 ion, which it releases, gives it to someone else. So every acid has that, and you can combine it with any negative ion. And they'll form an acid. H+1 with PO4 -3, that's going to be H3PO4. That's phosphoric acid. ये सब हमने किया था. So I told you to remember the names of these acids as well. And bases were the ones that accepted H+1 ions. Bases were negative ions. So oxygen -2 is a very popular base or very common base. OH -1, that's another base. And CO3 -2, that's another base. These were all bases. And finally, you had so any of these things, anything that has an O -2 in it, anything that has an OH -1 in it, anything that has a CO3 -2 in it. So अकेले तो वो होंगे नहीं, and O -2 will be next to a positive ion, so it could be any positive ion. So this is sodium oxide, there's magnesium oxide. Okay, so you have all sorts of, as you've got all sorts of hydroxide क्या होगा, OH -1 next to a positive ion, it could be any positive ion. Carbonate next to a positive ion, it could be any positive ion. So magnesium carbonate, sodium carbonate, strontium hydroxide, sodium hydroxide. Oxide की बात हो रही है तो it's going to be magnesium oxide, sodium oxide. Anyways, next, we learned 3 equations, and we're going to now learn how to balance those equations. I'm just going to give you a quick recap of all these equations. The first one was an acid and a base, they react and they produce salt and water. So I'm just going to do. I'll try and do a couple of more reactions of these. एक का वैसे example just for practice, right? So an acid, any acid. I think I'm just going to do another equation over here. An acid reacts with a base, metal oxide or a hydroxide. So you've got to memorize the names of these acids. So let's take sulfuric acid, that's H2SO4. And it reacts with a base. A base, किसको मैं कह रहा हूँ base? I'm calling it something that has an oxide or a hydroxide in it, right? That's what a base is. So let's take calcium hydroxide. Now calcium hydroxide is OH -1. Calcium is group 2, so that's +2, and so it's going to be Ca and OH twice, right? That's according to crisscross, that's going to be the formula. Product क्या बनेगा? What did I tell you? When an acid reacts with a metal oxide or a hydroxide, it forms salt and water, right? So water will be produced. So write down water. How is water produced? Because the H in the acid and the OH from the base, they react and they form the water, right? So what is the salt that's left? The salt is whatever is left behind. So it's calcium, Ca, and SO4. Now Ca is +2 and SO4 is -2. So you don't need to do crisscross because we'll cancel out. Ca will be twice and SO4 will be twice, but 2 will get simplified. It's going to get cancelled out. So it's just going to be Ca and SO4. Okay, anyways, that's your first equation. Okay, then we did the second equation, which was a metal reacts with an acid to produce salt plus H2. So let's do another reaction. Okay, a metal reacting with, let's say, any metal. Let's talk about aluminium. Reacting with an acid, let's take hydrochloric acid. So it's going to produce salt plus H2. So H2 gas is going to be given off. So that means this H over here in the acid, it forms H2 gas. Whatever is left, that's the salt. It's Al and Cl that's left. So Al and Cl are left. Al is group 3, so that's +3. Cl is -1. So what will be the formula? It's going to be Al and Cl will be thrice. Okay, so that's your equation. So then we did the third equation, which was a carbonate reacting with an acid to produce salt, water, and carbon dioxide. So this reaction, what happened was, let's take any carbonate. We can take any carbonate. Let's take aluminium carbonate. So aluminium and carbonate, right? So aluminium is +3 and carbonate is -2. You can remember carbonate is one of the ions given above. What is crisscross? It's going to be Al would be twice. Carbonate will be 3 times, right? So it's Al2CO3. That's aluminium carbonate reacting with an acid. Let's take nitric acid. That's HNO3. So what will be produced? That's going to be salt, water, and carbon dioxide. So you're going to write water and you're going to write carbon dioxide. They are going to be produced. So how are water and carbon dioxide produced? The carbonate and the H in the acid, they end up forming H2O and CO2, right? Whatever is left, that's the salt. So what is left? Al and NO3 is left. So Al and NO3 are left. NO3 is nitrate. It's got a -1 charge. Al is group 3, so that's got a +3 charge. So it's going to be Al and NO3 thrice. Okay, that's going to be my equation. That's it. Okay, every time it's going to be the same thing. Whenever you see a carbonate reacting with an acid, it's going to be the same thing. Magnesium carbonate reacting with nitric acid, the H and the CO3, they will form water and carbon dioxide, and Mg and NO3, that's going to be your salt. Aluminium carbonate with sulfuric acid, carbonate, carbon dioxide, H turns to water. Whatever is left, that's the salt. And then we did the fourth reaction, which was, okay, so the fourth reaction was the ammonium salt reaction. The ammonium salt reaction, इसका एक और example कर लेते हैं. So the ammonium salt reaction. उसके अंदर क्या था? I told you that in an ammonium salt reaction, you have, if you react it with an oxide or a hydroxide, it produces salt, water, and ammonia. So let's do another reaction. Let's say I've got ammonium sulfate. It's ammonium with a positive ion, ammonium with a negative ion, sorry. Ammonium with positive ion, so it's so the fourth reaction, let's ammonium, a positive ion is always next to a negative ion. So ammonium with chloride kar lete hain, Cl-1, right? So that's ammonium chloride. Plus, let's take some base, any base, potassium hydroxide kar lete hain, theek hai? The hydroxide, K is +1 and OH is -1. So that's potassium hydroxide. So an ammonium salt with a base or with an oxide or a hydroxide, it will produce salt, water, and and ammonia. ठीक है, so water ammonia तो मैंने पहले ही लिख दिया, ठीक है. So what is the salt that is produced? The OH turns to water, the NH4 turns to NH3. What is left behind? That's K and Cl, right? So that's your salt. K plus 1 and Cl minus 1. That's your salt. K is group 1, so it's plus 1, and Cl is minus 1. तो ये हमारा सारा बन गया, ठीक है. We've figured out how to make at least 4 reactions. These are the 4 common reactions, the more important ones. Okay? Mainly it's these 4 reactions. The other ones are kind of a lot simpler. So we'll talk about them later, much later. But these 4 are the common reactions. So we're now going to learn how to balance equations. Okay? None of these equations are actually balanced. So an equation is like a recipe. It's like a cooking recipe. So balancing is all about like what's the ratio in that recipe. Like if you're baking a cake, there's 4 cups of flours and there's 2 eggs that you're going to add. So the ratio is 4:2, right? So balancing equations is about balancing this recipe. So I'm going to start with a hydroxide. So I've got a sodium hydroxide and I've got phosphoric acid. That's H3PO4. So whenever you have a hydroxide and an acid reaction, you're going to produce salt and water, right? Okay, so a base plus acid produces salt plus water. So I'm going to write down water. What is the salt that's going to be produced? The H and the OH have reacted and they formed water. The Na and the PO4 are left. That's your salt. So PO4 के ऊपर the charge is -3, Na is +1. It's group 1, so it's +1. So the formula is going to be Na3PO4 if you do crisscross. As anyways, I've made the equation, right? And the first thing is you have to get the formulas right. So it's Na3PO4. But it's clearly not a balanced equation, because what is a balanced equation? That you can't really create atoms, you can't really destroy atoms. Like if you have 3 hydrogens over here and you've got 1 hydrogen over here, so there should be 4 hydrogens on this side as well, because you can't, I mean, where did the other 2 hydrogens go, right? So this equation at the moment is not a balanced equation. If you have 1 sodium over here, there should be 1 sodium over here. You can't have 3 sodiums. But the thing is, once you've actually made the formulas, you can't really change the formulas. I mean, this is the formula of NaOH. You can't change that. You can't make it NaOH twice. You can't change it. You can't make it Na2. You can't increase the number. That's the formula. Okay, this is the formula of H3PO4. That's it. This is always going to be the formula of H3PO4. So once you've made the formula, remember, I'm drawing these imaginary boxes because you just can't change them. Okay, you can't make it H2O2, right? Just because you need another oxygen. You can't do that. Water has this formula, that's H2O. That's fixed. You can't change that. All you can do is you can increase the quantity of water. You can have, if it's not balanced, you can have 2 water molecules. You can have 3 water molecules. You can have 4 water molecules just to balance things out. So I've got 4 elements that I need to balance. Okay, but remember, rule number 1 is don't touch the formulas. Okay, don't make it Na4PO4. That's not possible. Okay, Na3, because this is always going to be the formula of sodium phosphate, because sodium was +1 and PO4 was -3. So when you did crisscross, it turned out that Na would be 3 and PO4 will be 1, right? So you don't write 1. But you derive that formula using crisscross. So you can't alter this formula. So you've got 4 elements in this equation. You've got Na, you've got oxygen, you got H, and what else? You've got P as well, right? अब कौन मुझे बताएगा? I mean, some of you must have studied balancing. Like, which element would you balance first? Which element would you target first when you're trying to balance it? कौन सा होगा? Anyone? और सारों की balancing खराब है. The oxens, like there's one oxen. Remember balancing left to right side. ठीक है? This is, I mean, that's my left side and that's my right side. So out of these four elements, I guess all of them are unbalanced. There's one sodium. There are three sodiums on this side, so it's obviously unbalanced. There are 3 plus 1 hydrogen, 4. यहाँ पे 2 हैं. Oxygens, there are 4 plus 1, that's 5. Oxygen is kind of balanced already. Phosphorus is also kind of balanced. So the question is, which element would you balance first? Anyone, any idea? Yeah, I can start randomly. I can start balancing anyone. आमना किस वाले को बैलेंस करेंगे पहले? और उर्वा, anyone?
Sir, maybe sodium.
ठीक है. अच्छा, now remember this rule for balancing. ठीक है? And so sodium is correct, right? Now remember this rule for balancing. Not oxygen. ठीक है? So let's say we have sodium and oxygen. Who do we target first? ठीक है? We have to make them equal on both sides. Now the rule is, and make sure you follow this rule because otherwise balancing becomes very confusing, or it becomes difficult. Basically, the rule is balance the easiest one first. So then the question is, which one is the easiest? The easiest one is the one that's appearing in the least number of places. That appears in the least number of places. That's the easiest.
Sir,
Yes.
can we transport one hydrogen from the left side to the right side?
No, you can't do that. I told you, you can't change the formula.
Okay.
Like one, I mean, H2O is H2O. Like H2O is this thing. It's one oxygen bonded to 2 hydrogens. That's fixed. You can't change the formula. The only thing you can have is you can have another water molecule. That's the only thing. You can have 2 water molecules, but you can't change the formula. You can't make it 1H. I mean, this is what you're saying, right? You just remove one of the H's, right? You can't do that, which is why I've put this box over here on top. I mean, you can't change the formula. You can just increase the quantity. Achha, so what number of places, right? So how many places is sodium appearing in? That's appearing in 2 places. I'm just writing the number of times it's appearing. So it's appearing in 2 places. I mean, you find it over here and you find it over here. Achha, how many places is oxygen appearing? That's oxygen is over here. It's over here. It's over here as well. And oxygen is over here as well. So oxygen is appearing in 4 places. Achha, how many places is hydrogen appearing in? It's over here in this one. It's over here as well, or it's over here as well. So that's appearing in 3 places. And phosphorus is appearing in 2 places as well. You have phosphorus over here and you've got phosphorus over here. Achha, so it's a very simple rule. It makes balancing very easy or very systematic. Or I mean, it's harder to get this wrong once you follow this. So balance the easiest ones first. So we're going to start with sodium because that appears in the least number of places. I'm going to start with sodium. So you've got 3 sodiums over here. So I need how many sodiums? I need 3 sodiums over here as well. So I'm going to multiply this by 3. I'm going to have 3 NaOH. Clear as the sodium is balanced now. Like 1 NaOH had 1 Na, but now I've got 3 NaOH. So that means I've got 3 NAs, right? Is that clear? Sodium is done. You clear?
Okay.
So now after sodium, we're going to target phosphorus, right? So after sodium, we're going to target phosphorus. Now, if I go for phosphorus, if you look carefully, how many phosphoruses do you have? You've got just one of them, right? There's only one. I mean, there are 3 sodiums in this formula. There's 4 oxygens, but there's no number written next to phosphorus. There's only one of them. So there's only one over here as well, right? So that means that's already balanced. It's one over here and one over here. So that's fine. I don't have to multiply anyone by any number, right? So now after phosphorus, I would have to balance hydrogen. So after phosphorus, I'm going to balance hydrogen because that's sequentially that's slightly more difficult. So how many hydrogens do I have? I've got 3 of them over here. And I had one hydrogen over here. I mean, initially I had one only, but now I've got 3 molecules, okay? So that means I've got 3 hydrogens. So 3 hydrogens over here and 3 over here. So that's a total of 6 on this side. So I'm going to multiply this by 3. Like if I multiply it by 3, that means I've got 6 hydrogens. Like if I have 3 water molecules, but this 3 ka matlab hai I've got 3 separate water molecules. I've got a water molecule, I've got another water molecule, I've got another water molecule. So I've got in total, I've got if I like count the hydrogens, that's 2 over here, 2 over here, 2 over here. That's a total of 6 hydrogens. So the hydrogens are balanced now. You get 3 over here, 3 over here as well. So 6. I multiply this by 3, I get 6 hydrogens, right? So hydrogen is balanced.
Someone takes a break in shit.
And
Oh,
shh, Abdullah. पता नहीं कौन सा वाला अब्दुल्ला एक सेकंड उससे मैं चार्ट कर लूं अच्छा चलो sorry for the interruption चलो ठीक है this one we've got the final one which is oxygen अच्छा most of the time what will happen is the more difficult one that automatically balances how many oxygens we've got 4 how many oxygens do I have over here? There's only one of them, but there are 3 molecules. So that means I've got 3 oxygens, right? So 3 oxygens and 4 over here, that's a total of 7 oxygens over here. Okay, I've got 7 oxygens. So I've got 7 oxygens. How many oxygens do I have over here? I've got 4 oxygens. There's 1 oxygen over here, but there are 3 molecules. So that means I've got 3 oxygens. So that's 4 plus 3, that's 7 as well. So the last one automatically gets balanced. Okay, we're going to practice this a lot more, but remember the order, okay? The sequence of the atoms that you're going to follow every time when you try to balance. Second. So I'm going to try another equation. Let's do another equation. This time I'm going to go for calcium hydroxide. Now remember, it's another hydroxide equation. So calcium hydroxide, calcium is +2, it's group 2, right? So hydroxide is OH, and it's got a charge of -1. So it's going to be Ca and OH twice, right? And I'm going to react it with, let's say, nitric acid. Nitric acid is HNO3. So whenever you have this reaction, salt and water are going to be produced. So the water will be, so how is the water produced? The H in the acid and the OH from the base, they react together and they end up forming water. What is left is the salt. So I've got calcium and nitrate, NO3, that's what's left. Okay, doing crisscross again, calcium is +2, it's in group 2, NO3 is -1. So it's going to be Ca, NO3 would be twice. So that's the formula. Once you have made the formulas, ignore the working. Okay, let's get rid of the working. The equation is with us. And remember, I can't change the formula. So I'm going to put boxes around it. I can't change what's inside it. I can only increase the number of quantity. So quickly, out of, so I've got 4 elements again. I mean, you don't have to write it. You can just do this by looking at it. Which element would you balance first? You've got calcium, you've got H, you've got O, you've got N. So which one will you balance first?
Nitrogen
You can start with
or
nitrogen.
calcium.
Take nitrogen or calcium, right? Because both of them, they appear in 2 places. Oxygen is appearing in 4 places, and I guess hydrogen is appearing in 3 places, right? So
Hydrogen is in 4.
hydrogen is in 3 places. Hydrogen is over here. It's over here. It's not over here. Okay? So it's in 3 places. It's over here. So hydrogen is in 3 places, right? So anyways, we can start with calcium. We can start with nitrogen. So calcium is already balanced. You got 1 calcium, you got 1 calcium. So that's already done. So we can put a tick mark in front of calcium. That's done. We can start with nitrogen then. Okay, so let's start with nitrogen. So now if you have to count them properly. So here's calcium nitrate, right? Now there's only 1 N inside the bracket, right? But outside the bracket, it's twice. That means NO3 twice. What does that mean? It means the formula has, like, you have to understand the formula. What does this mean? It means there's 1 calcium ion and there are 2 nitrate ions. NO3 bracket Dalavana, that means there's 1 NO3 ion and there's another NO3 ion. So that means you've got 2 nitrogens. So anything outside the bracket, whatever number that is, everything gets multiplied by 2. Like oxygen is 6. Like you've got 3 oxygens in 1 nitrate and there's another nitrate, right? And that one has 3 more oxygens, so that's 6. So N yahan pe na, there are 2 N's. Here that's calcium nitrate. You got 2 nitrogens on this side. Now in nitric acid, you got just 1 of them. So you can't change the formula of nitric acid. All you can do is you can just multiply it by 2. That's it. That's the only thing you can do. So now you'll have 2 nitrogens over here as well. Nitrogen bhi ho gaya, then you're going to move towards hydrogen. So how many hydrogens do you have? You had 1, but now you've got 2 molecules. So that means 2 hydrogens. OH has 1 hydrogen, but bracket twice means that there are 2 OH ions. So that means you've got 2 hydrogens. So 2 hydrogens over here, 2 hydrogens over here, that's a total of 4 hydrogens. So I will multiply this by 2. Okay, so I'm going to go and multiply this by 2. And that would mean that the hydrogen is also balanced. And the last one, the oxygen itself balances it. The last one, the more difficult one, it automatically gets balanced out. How many oxygens? I got 6 oxygens over here. I mean, I had 3, but now I've got 2 molecules. So that means 6 oxygens. OH में 1 oxygen hai, but it's got a bracket and there are 2 of them. So that means you got 2 oxygens. So 6 over here and 2 over here, that's 8 oxygens in total. NO3 twice means you got 6 oxygens. Like you got 2 nitrate ions, you got 6 oxygens. And you got 1 oxygen, but there are 2 molecules. So that means 2 oxygens. So that is 8 oxygens as well. So the last one usually automatically gets balanced out. Okay, so that means this one is a balanced equation. And this is like a recipe. That means that you need to take 1 calcium hydroxide and you have to mix it with 2 nitric acid molecules. And when they react, they're going to form 1 calcium nitrate and they're going to form 2 water molecules. So that's a balanced recipe now. Okay, so that's the ratio in which things are going to react. अच्छा एक सेकंड है ना ये let's do another equation. Let's do a carbonate equation. Let's do sodium carbonate. Sodium is +1, carbonate is -2. अच्छा इसमें क्या बनता है carbonate वाले में? It's salt, water and carbon dioxide. So it's going to be Na2CO3, and I'm going to react it with phosphoric acid. That's H3PO4. So what will be produced? It's going to be, so what will be produced is salt, water, and carbon dioxide. So water, and I've got carbon dioxide. Okay, that's going to be produced. So how do you figure out this salt? H and CO3, they end up forming water and carbon dioxide. So what's the salt? That's, so the salt is Na and PO4. Okay, that is what is left, Na and PO4. So that's my salt. Na is +1, group 1, PO4 is -3. So the formula of this thing will be Na3PO4. Okay, so I'm going to rub off the working now. Okay, forget, ignore the charges, and so anyways, we've made the equation. I'm going to put boxes, can't change the formula now. So now I'll just do this mentally. I'm not going to write things down every time because it's going to take a long time. You have to practice it doing directly. So we've got lots of things. Oxygen is in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. So oxygen is going to be very difficult to balance. So you're going to keep oxygen to the side. The others are kind of easy to balance. Like sodium is 2. You got 3 sodiums over here. What number do I multiply both with so that the sodiums are equal? Like what should I multiply? I mean, this one with, and what should I multiply this one with?
3 and A2.
Okay.
The one on the left side should be multiplied by 3.
Exactly. So I'm going to multiply this by 3, right? Multiply.
And the one on the right side by 2.
Okay, so the one on the right side will be multiplied by 2. So that would mean I've got 3 molecules. That means 6 sodiums in total, right? And if I have 2 molecules of this, that means 6 sodiums. One of them is going to have 3, and the other one will also have 3. So it's going to be 6. So sodium is done. Easy ones. Look at hydrogen. That's in 2 places only. So we're going to balance hydrogen, right? So I've got 3 and 2. So we're going to do exactly 3, and we're going to do exactly the same, right? So I'm going to multiply this by 3, and I'm going to multiply this by 2. If I multiply this by 2, that will mean 6 hydrogens, and if I multiply this by 3, that would also mean 6 hydrogens. So I'm done with sodium. I'm also done with hydrogen. What next? Who should I target next?
Oxygen.
Hey, remember, keep oxygen at the end. It's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. Okay, so you have to start with the easiest. That's the one.
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon.
Okay, so
Carbon.
carbon, right? So you can start with carbon. Carbon, how many carbons do you have? You just got 1 carbon, right? There's no number next to it. So there's only 1 carbon, but there are 3 molecules. So that means you got 3 carbons over here. You got 1 carbon in this formula. Remember, carbon is there's no number next to carbon.
Sir, we can move that one.
Which one?
We can move 1 carbon to the other side.
Remember, you can't do that. I told you, you can't move carbons. The formula is fixed. You can't change anything that's inside the box. How is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so is that clear that you've got 3 carbons over here?
Yes, because there's a 3 outside the box at the start.
Basically, and that, remember that 3. What does that mean? That means you got 3 of. I mean, you got 3 of these. There's 1, 2, and there's a third one, right?
3.
So that means you got 1 carbon over here, you got 1 carbon over here, and you got 1 carbon over here as well, right? So basically in total you've got 3 carbons, right? So you should have 3 carbons over here as well, but you got only 1 over here at the moment. So you'll just multiply it by 3, right? So the carbon is balanced. So remember this: you can't take things out of the box. I mean, the formula is fixed. You can't change that. The only thing is you can increase the quantity on the other side. You can increase the number of molecules of this thing. Is that clear?
Yes.
So we're done with carbon. So we're done with carbon. There's phosphorus that's easy to balance as well, but it's already balanced. Like if you look at phosphorus, it's already done. Like you got one phosphorus, right? There's no number next to phosphorus. There are two phosphoruses, right? This one has one phosphorus, but there are two molecules, so that means two phosphoruses, right? So phosphorus is already done. So you're going to keep oxygen till the end, very end. The difficult one has to be till the very end. But the surprising thing is that the difficult one will automatically balance out. How many oxygens do you have over here? Like in this entire thing? Okay, then how many oxygens is this?
9.
That's 9, and there are 8 oxygens over here, right? So that's a total of 9 plus 8 is 17 oxygens, right? So on the reactant side, this side, reactant side, you got 17 oxygens, 8 over here, 9 over here. So how many oxygens do you have over here? That's on the product side. You got 8 oxygens, right? You got 3 oxygens, and you got 6 oxygens, right? So that's
In total equals 17.
okay, that's going to be 17. So it's going to be 8 plus 3 plus 6. So that is 17 oxygens. So इसका मतलब है कि the oxygens have automatically, I mean, the last one automatically gets balanced out. So remember, just follow this rule always. It's going to make things, because if you start with oxygen, that makes things very difficult. So it's very important that you know, okay, which element to target first and which one to target later. If you start with oxygen, it becomes difficult to balance equations. Abhi time hai, we'll try another one. Let's try ammonium. Ammonium phosphate. Okay, we'll try the ammonium equation. So ammonium phosphate, that's phosphate is PO4 minus 3, ammonium is plus 1. So it's going to be NH4 thrice and PO4. So that's ammonium phosphate. I'm going to react it with magnesium hydroxide, magnesium and hydroxide. So OH is minus 1, Mg is group 2, so that's plus 2. So it's going to be Mg and OH twice. So what will be produced when you have an ammonium reaction? It's going to be salt, water, and ammonia. So water, ammonia, ये तो बनेंगे, ठीक है? So water and ammonia, and I have to figure out the salt. So the ammonium changes to ammonia, the OH changes to water. What is left? That's Mg and PO4. That's your salt. So Mg and PO4 are left. What are the charges of the two things? It's Mg is group 2 plus 2, PO4 is minus 3. So it's going to be Mg would be 3 and PO4 will be twice. So that's my reaction. And we can get rid of the charges. I said, I'm trying to balance this one. Now we've got a lot more elements, but we're going to start with the easiest. Which one is the easiest? And let me...
Magnesium and ammonia.
So let's start with magnesium, right? I said, try and balance the element, okay? Not the whole compound, just the element. I said, the formulas can't change. We can't change. So how many magnesium? I've got 3 of them over here. I've got just 1 over here. So I'm going to multiply this by 3. So magnesium is done. Okay, that was easy. Achha, who's next? Element. What's the element next?
Ammonium.
N.
Wait, no, never mind.
Sorry, I mean, you've got lots of elements. We can go for P as well. Okay, P is only in 2 places. P is over here, and P is over here. It's only in 2 places. We can go for H even, because H is over here and it's over here. It's only in 2 places. Even the N, it's over here. No, sorry, H is not in 2 places. H is over here. It's also over here. It's also over here. So H is slightly difficult to balance. So we're going to focus on the easier ones. So I'm going to go for, let's go for P. How many phosphoruses do we have? Brackets can we just had one, but outside the bracket it's two. So that means I've got two phosphoruses, right? PO4 twice ka matlab I've got two PO4s. So I've got two phosphoruses. There are two of them. So on the other side, this side, I need two phosphoruses as well. At the moment, there's only one phosphorus. So I'm going to multiply this by 2. And that way, my phosphorus is also balanced. Okay, is this clear? There's two phosphoruses over here. There was only one phosphorus over here. So I multiplied by 2. Clear? How clear? Amna, Ayan, is this clear? Farina, clear?
Yes, sir.
So agla part, we've got to do, we just went till P, right? So easy to balance. H is in 3 places, 1, 2. It's also over here. So H is slightly difficult. Oxygen is in 3 places. Oxygen is in 4 places. It's over here, over here, over here, and over here as well. So oxygen is also even more difficult to balance. Which one is only in 2 places? It's N. N yahan pe and it's over here. It's only in 2 places. So I'm going to go for N. Can anyone tell me how many nitrogens do I have over here?
One.
Like in total in this whole thing, how many nitrogens? Inside the bracket, there's only one, right? There's only one N. And you put a bracket and you put 3 over there. So that means you've got 3 nitrogens over here. Is that clear?
Yes. Yes.
6 sahi hai, because 6 is correct, right? But then you've got 2 molecules, right? So that means one of this thing has 3 nitrogens, right? But you've got 2 of them. So that means you've got a total of 6 nitrogens. Okay, so there are 3 nitrogens over here in the formula. But you've got 2 molecules. So that means you've got 6 nitrogens. So you got 6 nitrogens over here. So you need 6 nitrogens on the other side as well. So वहाँ पे तो एक ही पड़ा हुआ है ना, so you just have to multiply it by 6. That's it. Right, that's it. That's all you got to do. So we're done with nitrogen as well. Remember, this one is a slightly more difficult equation to balance. We're done with nitrogen as well, and we now have to focus on H and O. Usme we can either go for any one of them because H is in 4 places, 1, 2, 3, 4. O is also in 4 places, so we can try any one of them. So we can start with O. Kitne O's hain yahan pe? That's 4, and there are 2 more. So that means 8 oxygens, right? How many oxygens do you have in this formula? That's 2. And into 3, that's 6 oxygens. So you got 8 oxygens in the first one, and you got 6 oxygens in the second one. So that's a total of 14 oxygens. So यहाँ पे क्या करना है? यहाँ पे PO4 twice, that's 8 oxygens. So you got 8 oxygens over here. So how many oxygens do you need over here? You need 6 oxygens over here. So I'm going to multiply this by 6, so I get 6 oxygens over here. So oxygen bhi balance ho gaya कि when I tried balancing oxygen, I figured out that there are 8 oxygens. I figured out that there are 6 oxygens over here, so that's 14 in total. And over here I had 8. So jo baki 6 hai na, to make 14, that's so there will be 6 water molecules. That's it. So I'm done with oxygen as well. And finally, the last one. The last one would automatically get balanced. I've got how many hydrogens I've got? I've got 12, but there are 2 molecules, so that's 24 hydrogens. How many hydrogens I've got over here? I've got 2, but there are 3 molecules, so that's 6 hydrogens. So I got 24 hydrogens over here, I got 6 hydrogens over here. That's a total of 30 hydrogens. यहाँ पे कितने हैं? That's 6 into 3, that's 18. And 6 into 2, that's 12. So 18 plus 12 hydrogens, that's also 30 hydrogens. So the last one automatically gets balanced. And just remember, last one was difficult. Okay? We'll practice balancing a lot. A lot of times the equations will be simpler. Okay? But remember to follow the rule. Just don't start balancing. Start with the easiest. Oxen को नहीं हाथ लगाना 1, 2, 3, 4 places. Don't try to balance oxen. Balance the easiest ones. Calcium, go for calcium. Balance that. Try balancing nitrogen because it's in 2 places. Okay? So don't touch the formulas. Once you've made the formulas should not change. Put an imaginary box around them. You just can't touch the formula. Okay? You can't change any number over here inside this box. You can't change the formula of H2O. That's fixed. The only thing you can do is you can either have 2 water molecules, 3 water molecules. You can just increase the quantity or decrease the quantity. Okay? So we'll continue with this, and we'll hopefully start a bit of a moles next time. But we'll continue with balancing. We'll continue with equations. Just remember there are 4 equations, important ones, which you need to know: metal plus acid, base plus acid, carbonate plus acid, and इसमें ज़्यादातर में भी है कि base hydroxide with water, acid, that's salt and water. Carbonate with acid, that's salt, water, and carbon dioxide. Ammonium salt with a base or a hydroxide, that's salt, water, and ammonia. So remember these 4 reactions. ये हम practice करते रहेंगे. We'll continue to practice these reactions. चलिए कल बात करते हैं, ठीक है? And make sure your assignments are done on the. चलें. Okay. Allah Hafiz.
You've uploaded assignments?
हाँ वो I'll share with them with you, ठीक है? And I'll share the previous lectures as well on this specific board. The formulas wala part enough. I'll share the lectures with you as well. ठीक है?
Okay.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.